really feel the way I feel, just open up your heart and let me in. Do you really feel the way I feel? Just open up your heart and let me in. I'm always gonna love you, no matter what's going on. No matter if you're right, no matter if I'm wrong, we can be strong. Do you really feel the way I feel? Just open up your heart and let me in.
So special.
Do you really feel the way I feel? Just open up your heart and let me in.
So special. We are very excited here at All Consuming Filming, and on the distribution side, we have our Now or Never show. And some of you are used to me doing shows every Saturday. And right now, we can celebrate life and God because the sun is not out in upstate New York, but it's out at my special guest's way. I want to introduce my guest, and I can't do him due diligence. He has a music label. He has been appearing in Senior Entourage, a full-length movie that's already distributed into Walmart, starring some major stars. But without further ado, I'm going to let Bruce Hablutzel, welcome. Tell us about your day. How's it going so far?
Well, it's going amazing for being in a hospital room. It's incredible, and it just keeps getting better every day. One step closer to getting out.
Yes, and Bruce, you have been in the hospital for a while. Can you tell us about, before we get to that, can you tell us about how you got your start in entertainment, and how long you've been in LA?
My start in entertainment, that goes back too long ago. Um, a lot of you folks know a group of people called the Rat Pack. And when I was about 7 years old, I was in a tap dancing troupe that was owned by Fred Astaire and Ethel Merman. And so I got to tour all over the planet when I was, I think, between 5 and 7. And I actually got to dance in front of the Rat Pack because I had a great uncle who was very well connected in the entertainment business. He was a part of something that was called the Manhattan Connection. And it wasn't as evil as people say. If you seen the film The Manhattan Connection years ago, or did they call it the French Connection with Gene Hackman? Um, but anyway, they provided services for all the major celebrities in Hollywood, and they brought in Italian handmade suits and all the imported alcohol. And they used to like a certain illegal cigar back then called Habana cigars from Cuba. I don't even know why they were illegal, but I guess it was our trades with Cuba wasn't allowed at the time. So yeah, so that's where I kind of got my start. I was also in a school for actors, and by the time I was probably 9 years old, I already was a lead actor in a production like Man from La Mancha. I was also in a production for Doctor Doolittle.
That's
And,
awesome.
they were quite extravagant for being such a young guy. So I got to do a lot of things early on.
Bruce,
And
you look
then
really good for being in the hospital. But before we get to that story, can you show me your hat?
my hat. See my hat? Can you see it?
That's
Yes, no.
amazing. Yeah, tip it a little bit. It says senior entourage and something about always carry. Can you tell me what senior entourage is for some of our guests? What does senior entourage mean?
Well, Senior Entourage, I'm sure everybody out there is familiar with the series Entourage, right? And Henry Penzi was one of the main stars in Entourage. He was also in Senior
Senior
Entourage.
entourage.
Now, Senior Entourage was a spoof, was a mockumentary type thing where you had all these older actors who were trying to redo their careers and relaunch their careers. Um, so I got to star in a film with quite a few people, well-known people, legends of stardom, and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes.
I worked with Ed Asner was in it. Ellen Reddy was in it. Let's see, Marion Ross from Happy Days.
My
Dave
crush,
Hart.
Mark Rydell.
Yeah, Mark
I
Rydell
love
was
him.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
love Mark. I love Mark.
Who was from Beyond the Golden Pond fame,
Mhm.
and quite a few other things over the ages. I mean, the lineup in there were quite a bit bigger celebrities than myself, and I was so honored to be. I'll tell you how that happened. I had a friend of mine named Dave Lockhart who calls me up and he
Hi,
says,
Dave Lockhart. Shout out, Dave Lockhart. We love Dave Lockhart.
and he said, Bruce, he said, man, I'm going to do this play, and we're going to do this to kind of save this old playhouse. And I can't remember the name of the old playhouse exactly, but we were doing skits, and So anyway, he said, and I want you to be a part of it. And since you know lighting and sound and you act also, just come on by and we'll see what we can do. And so he didn't tell me, he said, we're going to have a whole lot of actors here. So it'll be a fun day and we're just all going to hang out. And then after that, we're all going to do a film together called Senior Entourage. And so, I go to this old playhouse. It's very old, and it had an elevator in it that was very old. And so I had to get into this old elevator that looked like it was going to be like the Disney ride where the ride in the Haunted Mansion zooms to the bottom and acts like it's going to crash. I mean, it was a very scary ride down to where the dressing room was. So, anyway, not knowing who any of the stars were going to be in this film or that were going to be there, I was the last one there. And, so I walk into this room and here's Ed Asner and Marion Ross and all these celebrities. They just turn around and kind of look at me and go, "Oh, hi, Bruce." They already knew my name. So I was like, "Oh, shit. They know who I am. I'm in trouble now." Kind of like, I mean, I'm by no means starstruck because I grew up in the entertainment business and been around the biggest celebrities you can probably name at one point in time or another. But to walk in a room with all those just amazing actors, was I just couldn't imagine. Wow, here Dave invited me to be in a part with celebrities like this who are living legends. I mean, these people have half of them have wax figures in the Hollywood, museum where they have all the big celebrities in wax. So, they were living legends, and that's a Senior Entourage, and it's I believe it's still on Amazon, as well as in Walmart. So
Yes.
you should get it and check it out. And I had a band in there too that I manage. I also manage and book bands, and that's
Yeah. Tell me a little bit, and we'll get more into Senior Entourage in a little while, and my big crush, Mark Rydell, and how I screened it with Ed Asner and Mark Rydell sandwiching me and listening to their commentary. But before we get to that, and why you're in the hospital, and you look amazing, tell me about your music label.
well, the label that we're launching is called Light Row Records. And it's kind of the opposite of Death Row Records. So it's Life, Life, Row Records. And my partner, who just happens to be related to a well known singer named Mariah, his name is always Carrie.
Yes, we love
And,
always.
and if anybody knows the history of Carrie's,
The Carey
actually his
family.
whole family goes way back in the music industry a long, long time. Um, and they've always been major stars. And so I get the chance to be a partner with this guy who I actually met when he was 18 years old in a studio that I owned. Um, so over in Ohio, you
Yes,
know,
Ohio, where always Carrie is from. And some people don't understand for our audience, the relationships that we have in circles with always Carrie and how he's a God loving man. He came to see you a couple of times, correct?
yeah. And then something actually not so great happened. And I don't know, if it's You want to talk about hospital relations? I don't know if you want to get into any of that. It's a lot of negative stuff, but hospitals are not so great these days, including Cedar Sinai,
What
which
hospital?
is,
You're in Cedar Sinai right now?
well, Cedar Sinai owns this hospital.
Okay.
They're partnered with this hospital, and there's a doctor named Dr. Riggs who is the medical advisor for both hospitals. So yeah, this hospital is run out of Cedar Sinai. And let me tell you, it is not the best hospital in California,
So
like
you're
they would
not
like to say.
getting good treatment there?
Well, the nurses are great, and
Okay.
the people that come see me are good people, but there's a lot of senior abuse that goes on here, and there's a lot of other abuse that goes on here. For instance, I was in a couple of different rooms before I got to my own private room, which is like the penthouse suite overlooking some beautiful mountains and palm trees, and it's a great view. But before I got here, I was in a hospital with a man that was practically bleeding to death, and should have been in intensive care.
Let's
And then,
talk. Let me stop you there for a second. Let's talk about what, for our audience, what happened on Christmas Eve to lead you to go into the hospital.
well, what happened to me on Christmas Eve was I was coming back from a wonderful um, time with a friend of mine who is also a producer. And there were no lights, there were no cars, there were no traffic on the highway that I was driving back towards Long Beach,
Mhm,
which was my next stop for the evening.
mhm.
And I got hit in the rear end and knocked off the road across 3 lanes and down a hill, which, I was hoping and praying the whole time that the car wouldn't turn over and then catch on fire,
Oh my
because it
goodness.
was a very long, long hill, almost a cliff. And it could
So
have.
the car could have rolled off the cliff if it was hit a certain way.
The car could have easily rolled down the hill, and yeah, and for somehow or some reason or another, it was almost like the hand of God kind of was holding me and letting the car glide down to the bottom. It was a bumpy glide down to the bottom, but it didn't roll over and it didn't turn over. And the amazing thing was when I got to the bottom of the hill, the car was actually still running.
Wow.
So I thought in my mind, I said, well, I better turn it off so it doesn't catch on fire.
Oh my
And
goodness.
actually, stupid little me said, wow, what if I can start the car back up and maybe drive this car out of here? Which I didn't realize where I was or how I was at the bottom of the hill, and as damaged and tore up as the car was. But it did start back up. Amazingly, the
Thank
car
God.
actually started back up. Now I couldn't go anywhere, I couldn't drive anywhere, and I couldn't even get out of the car.
Okay.
So I didn't realize any of that at first. And then I started feeling massive doses of pain
Mhm.
throughout my whole body. And thankfully, I come out of it with, 3 fractures in my right arm. And I'm not able to walk as of yet, but I can. Is anybody here? I don't know if anybody's old enough that they may have seen Carol Burnett, but there used to be a character on the show called Mr. Wiggins,
Right.
and he like Tim Conway played it, and he hobbled around and he kind of scooted around on his feet, and that's about where I am right now. I scoot around and hobble like Mr. Wiggins on Carol Burnett. So
So the
Um,
night of Christmas Eve, you wanted to go out with friends. You were out and you had
like,
already went to one person's house. Then
uh,
you get in this terrible accident, get fractures and lose the loss of your legs, and you've been in the hospital ever since.
yes, ma'am. Been in the hospital ever since.
And
So,
how are you feeling now?
how am I feeling? In pain, a lot, off and on. But outside of the pain, I feel great, man. I'm ready to walk and go back and live life. And I'm constantly handling business from the hospital room. I only got one arm, so no, it's not crippled up. I can use it, but I'm getting better day by day, 1 inch at a time or one step at a time. But I'll tell you, this hospital has a lack of taking care of patients. You're almost in here taking care of yourself.
What do you need from people? What, if you could have three things, what would be the to-do list?
Oh, three things. Hmm. One is to pay a specialist in physical therapy that gets me backing up on my feet, because I only think it would take a short period of time, and consistent, physical therapy, probably a couple hours a day, maybe for only about 2 more weeks, and maybe longer. I don't know, but I'm up, I'm mobile. I
Bruce,
never used
have the doctors given you a prognosis about when it is you can use your legs and walk out of the hospital?
nothing, man, nothing. They're not telling me nothing. They're not showing me my X-rays. Um, they're not really getting into any discussions or being much help. They show up and go, "Oh, everything's the same." I mean, they, run your diagnosis and check you. And I'm not. I'm supposed to be getting physical therapy here 4 times a day, but I get it twice. I mean, 4 times a week. I'm sorry, but I get it twice a week, and that's all I'm getting it, which is not enough. So I do what I can on my own, but
Do
I really,
the doctors and nurses try to get you to stand up? Can they walk with you? Can they work with you a little bit?
well, that's all. That's what physical therapy is supposed to do.
And you're not getting it.
No, I'm not getting it. I'm getting it only 2 days a week, and only for a very, very short period in time, like not even an hour's worth of physical therapy, you know. And I need intensive physical therapy in order to get back to normal.
Every
And
day.
I know I can do it. I mean, I can. Here, let's see what we can do here. I mean, how about I'll try to show you what I can
Are
do.
you in
I
a
don't know.
wheelchair?
No, I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm in a bed.
Oh, okay, in a bed.
But what I can do, I mean, I can, see, I can show you my legs and I can move them.
Yep.
They're starting to be able to do that. This one's a little harder, but for some reason, oops, where'd you go? Did we freeze? We froze for a second.
We still see
Um,
you, Bruce.
okay, but I can't straighten my knees out. That's the problem. My knees won't straighten out all the way for some reason.
What are the other things besides physical therapy that you need, Bruce?
What else do I need? Well, let's see. I need some projects funded. uh, we are about on the way to. I just got some word from Always today that we're on the move to get, some of our studios funded and some funding for all that. So we're getting there. I got some great films that need funding.
Tell me about your projects that you have, and then we'll get to Senior Entourage a little bit more. Tell me about some of your music projects you have coming up.
Man, I've got a whole list of those. I mean, as you probably already know, with Always Carry, we've got he's ready to drop an album on March the 1st. One thing we're getting down to the bare wire. We almost got it, but we're looking for distribution for that. Hoping one of the big boys pick us up for distribution for the album.
Okay.
And once we get him going, we've got about 200 more artists behind him that are ready to go. So, I mean, we've got a 25-year program for musicians and music, and we've got, some of the younger Jacksons, and we've got a whole group of people in that list of musicians that are well known or attached to well known families. So we got the future. Instead of Motown, which is Old Town, we got New Town. So
Yes.
we've got the whole future of music and films.
Is Always Carry genre going to stay Christian based, possibly, or are you going to work with other genre of music?
I mean, he does it all, but one thing we are going to do, we are going to keep it all family friendly. So we'll work with all kinds of basses and music and sounds and films, but it's going to be family friendly, at least
Very much
PG.
so. G-rated.
Nothing worse than PG at the very most.
Yeah.
So and probably not by today's standards, but by the true standards that parental guidance used to mean, which was a whole difference than what the industry has now. I mean, PG with the industry is almost R rated, today. And R rated, I don't even know what that means. I haven't seen anything R rated and don't really want to go watch anything R rated. But, I guess that can mean that's probably more like watching a porn film, which is disgusting and is very, very degrading. And don't get me wrong, I have friends in that industry. Ron Jeremy is a good friend of mine. And, I mean, look what it's done for his life. He's in prison for the rest of his life. So
yeah, and Harvey Weinstein just got 16 years. So let's circle back into Senior Entourage. What was it like? I was out in Pasadena, where you are, watching your movie, your full-length Senior Entourage movie with, like I said, Ed Asner on my right and Mark Rydell on my left. What was it like working with my big crush, Mark Rydell?
No, it was amazing. I mean, he was funny. He's a riot. He's nonstop laughter. I mean, that's how Mark is. I mean, I don't know if officially he's ever been a comedian, but he is on the set, that's for sure. And it was such an honor to be able to work with those guys. I mean, the work and the what they've given back to the entertainment industry and SAG over the years. Many of you don't know it, but Ed Asner was president of SAG for quite a while.
Yes.
And here's little old Big Bruce working with him on a full feature film. So it was quite an honor, man. I mean, and he was a friend of mine too. Ed was beyond. I don't think he'll ever be able to be replaced by anybody.
Well, I painted this angel when he passed away. We had the last radio show and I painted this angel for him. before, because we did a radio show 2 days before Ed and I parted life ways. And Ed Asner was born on the we're what I joke, we're one day apart, just different years. So I was doing all these things to kick off Senior Entourage, which was singing in Manhattan and walking down the street and kicking it off. How many days did you work on set? Did you develop relationships with Marion from Happy Days? Tell me about that a little bit. What were the funniest things that happened on set?
Wow. Um, it was, gosh, how long did we film that thing? I can't remember exactly. I think it was done in about a week, but it was not all at one time. So it was over, a couple months, in different shoots. So, it was just, I mean, all I can say to sum it up, that there was a lot of fun things and a lot of funny stuff. Um, One of the funniest things was when, and I think I got it recorded, where Ellen Reddy, Ed Asner, Mark Rydell, and I think Marion Ross too, where they, just to watch them guys was just, it was fun, man. And there was so many funny things, just remarks and, um, I don't know if we got a blooper reel for the film, but if we do, um, Brian should definitely think about releasing it.
Brian
Um,
Connors, great director.
yeah, Brian's a good one, man. Although I will say this, I assisted directing several times in the film. It was an honor to sit there and see and hear his perspectives on everything. And I was able to help him a little bit on some areas. But I don't know. I want to see all the unseen footage because there's a lot of it.
Absolutely.
And we could make a whole nother film, Brian, from the unseen footage.
Brian, we love you.
And there's a lot of comedy like that, and a lot of scenes that would just, I mean, amazing back. I guarantee you, there's so many funny things that Brian has on film that he needs to release. Um, and Dave Lockhart, he needs a big applause for this whole thing as well. He was a
Yes,
big,
Dave.
big part
Thank
of
you,
it.
Dave, for
Yeah,
entertaining us. I went and bought three for Brian, three Senior Entourage on DVD at Walmart. But we still probably could have a sequel, Senior Entourage. I believe Brian's talking about that right now.
that's where this hat came from. This is new. It's not old. I have this hat on here, and hopefully I'm going to be there in Greece, which is where it's going to be shot at with Pierce Bronson, James Bond. So hopefully I'm standing on the same stage with James Bond. And Jamie Lee's coming back.
Good. Yes,
So
Jamie Lee, my uncle worked on her house in somewhere in Idaho, someplace. But yeah, it's interesting. So we have about 5 minutes left. Let's talk about what's up and coming. Any words of advice for our audience about the country's corruption? You have the floor for the next 5 minutes.
you want me to go there, huh? Wow. Um, I don't know how much I should say and not say being a public figure, but I will say,
This is a now or never show. You can say what you want. Go
now
ahead.
or never. Okay. Well, I mean, we already know this. The political scene is corrupt from the bottom to the top, and has been for some years. So, as far as choosing a leader, I don't think there's anybody out there that we see that should be or is fit to be the president of the United States, not Donald Trump or the Biden administration. Um, and I do want everybody to do something. I want you to go. Now, this would be fair. Um, I want you to go study and read the terms and the definition of Marxism or about the life of Karl Marx. And then what I want you to do is compare it to the administration and how the United States is being run by the government right now. That sounds fair, right? That doesn't get me in too much trouble. Um, so check it out and see what Karl Marx did, and compare it to the Biden administration. Once again, I don't know what to think about Trump. You know, I don't know if it's a good cop, bad cop situation. I know he doesn't need any money, so you know, if you got people in office that don't need money, they're not going to steal from the country. Um, you know, they got their own money, and Trump's got his own FBI, CIA, and everything else. So, you know, he doesn't need anything that the government's got. He's got his own government. But you know, there's got to be somebody out there. And honestly, really, I think you know the best presidents that we have had were killed. You know, because they weren't willing to mix religion with politics. See, that's a problem, I think. Granted, we need a country that recognizes that there is a God, okay? Because if not, you have no moral base, you have no morality. You can't possibly know right from wrong unless you have some kind of teachings that teach you right from wrong. You know, if a child grows up and his parents are toting guns and dealing drugs, I mean, he's certainly not going to learn it from his parents, right from wrong. And if they're in a school where there's some basis for right and wrong, then at least he'll get some kind of an education on what's right and wrong. I don't know. We're in a bad situation, you know, but the Bible says we'll be in the last days. You know, this is what we're going to face. There'll be those that love God and those that serve the government and not God. That's the
Will you
bottom
be
line.
watching the Oscars, Bruce?
Oh yeah, and I don't know if I get lucky and these legs start working, maybe I'll be there. I actually got some tickets to the Oscars.
Well, we'll pray for
But
you,
it's like,
Bruce, for your legs for the Oscars. And how would one contact you if they want to get involved with your music label, Senior Entourage, Stardom?
um, two ways. I do have a number you can reach me at. I'll actually let you call me.
Okay,
It's
perfect. Thank
it's
you.
323-482-9720. Very transparent and very
Thank
down to
you,
earth. So
Bruce. And I appreciate having you on the show today. And then we'll have to do a post Oscar party. And you and always can come back and do a post Oscar party with us. And
there we go.
Bruce said you could reach out to him by phone. You can call him anytime. Thank you so much. And we're praying for you and your well being and your health. And I just didn't want to air your dirty laundry. But when you are out of the hospital and walking out, we need to have another show.
There we go.
God bless you. Be safe. And thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Kimberly. I really appreciate it. And everybody watch her show as much as it's aired. And she's got so many incredible guests. So I'm honored to be on the show.
And call Bruce. Thank
And
you. God bless.
You too.
My queen, trying to fulfill my dream. Still remembering the love of my grandma. I can't tell it all, stand tall, never fall. She would do whatever it took, put me to sleep with that good book. If I got out of line, she would just give me the look. Never did she raise no crook. She always gave, but never took. She was my bridge over that Pim Brook. So sincere, she was always there. Josephine, you still care, I'm right here. You taught me to love and have no fear. You taught me the truth and never be scared. You would always whisper in my ear, I'm right here. Have no fear, don't be scared. You know I love you always. It's all about that love. That's all I ever needed. It's all about that love. That's all I ever wanted. It's all about that love. That's all I ever needed. It's all about that love. That's all I ever wanted. One another, love your sister and brother, father and mother. Never keep it undercover. Shit. Don't let the flames of the smother ignite that dime breed. Plant the seed to kill envy and jealousy. Water the seed to kill that greed and hypocrisy. Let it lead, smear the blood and let it bleed. Time to feed that hair breed. Let them know there's a better place for show, for show. With that type right lyrical flow, gotta let that love go. Go ahead and show the rich get richer, the poor stay cold. The streets are gold, the only place it don't snow no more. Relax your mind, let your spirit be free. Come walk with me, come talk with me. AC, I had a key to set you free. It's the truth about the LUV, the lie. It's all about that love. That's all I ever needed. It's all about that love. That's all I ever wanted. It's all about that love. That's all I ever needed. It's all about that love. That's all I ever wanted. The search for love is a desire from God. Where passion breaks through ice cold facade. Reality, one perception of life. You can't have love without Jesus Christ. For God is love and love is God. It doesn't steal, kill, destroy, or rob. All you gotta do is receive by faith. Drop to your knees and don't procrastinate. Children are born every single day. Jehovah love, there's no better way. He died on the cross for us all. All we got to do is answer the call. His angels pick us up when we fall. Shine the light when we can't see it all. Makes a path through that concrete wall. He's the stick, the mortar, brick, and straw. It's all